20th Brown County Commission meeting to order. We'll start off with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Morning.
First item, approve the agenda.
So moved,
Second.
with the addition of possible adoption on the second item, rezone ordinance, second reading, and possible adoption.
Second. We have a motion by Sutton, a second by Piker to approve the agenda with the correction as a second reading and also adoption of ordinances 199 and 200. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, we have the second reading of the rezone and possible adoption of rezone 199 and 200.
Ordinance 199 filed by Lindsay Delman to change the zoning from Chapter 4.06 Agriculture Preservation District to Chapter 4.07 Mini Ag District, Lot 1 Bagley Subdivision in the northwest quarter of Section 2, Township 128 North, Range 61 West of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota, 10048 404th Avenue.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Kipley to approve rezone ordinance 199. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Ordinance 200 filed by Matt Oswald to change the zoning from Chapter 4.06 Agriculture Preservation District to Chapter 4.07 Mini Ag District, the south 707 feet of the west 701 feet of the northwest quarter of Section 7, Township 123 North, Range 61 West of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota, 13148 400th Avenue.
Move. Second. Moved by Piker, second by Weiss to approve the adoption of ordinance 200. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I guess we're close enough. We're within a minute of our next one. Next item, we have the public hearing, temporary malt beverage license, Aberdeen Aqua Addicts. Move it.
Second.
Moved by Piker, second by Weiss to approve to have the public hearing on the temporary malt for the Aberdeen Aquamatics. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're a little bit ahead right now. Might just take a couple years.
Sure. First one is to approve last week's minutes, July 13, 2021.
Move. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss to approve the general meeting minutes of July 13, 2021. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Claims and payroll.
Move. Second. Moved by Piker, second by Weiss to approve claims and payroll. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
HR report.
Move. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss to approve the HR report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Pay estimate number 3 for landfill cell 4 project.
Move.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss to pay the estimate number 3 for the landfill cell 4 project. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Leases.
Move. Second. Moved by Piker, second by Weiss to approve the leases. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item then. Next item, we have the South Dakota Department of Legislative Audit Opening Audit Conference 2020. Do we have somebody here?
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Chris, Legislative Audit. This is our engagement letter. If you could pass that, just get it signed for me real quick.
Oh, it's all one, okay.
Yep. It just talks about our billable rate, what we're testing, what we're looking for. Are any of you aware of any fraud or abuse going on in the county at the moment?
No, I'm abused every day.
We're not gonna tell you.
I was just gonna say, if we knew, we wouldn't tell you.
We'll let you find them.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't think you expected this.
What's the
Different
billable,
every county.
what's the billable rate now?
Is it in there?
I'd need to check again. It should be in the letter.
Did it go up a little bit?
I think it might have gone up a little bit, but we've been doing our best to keep it down, so.
And do we have the big audit this year with all the grants coming
Yep,
rolling?
it's a uniform guidance audit this year, so. Testing might take a bit longer.
So time frame wise, how long you guys be here for a couple months?
Fiscal year
or
rate is $71.50, must be per hourly rate,
71?
$71.50.
So if there's any concerns, you'll be here, like, are you setting up house now?
Yep, we're set up, back over there. so.
Okay. Sounds good.
Anybody else want to look at this before we...
Do you need a vote to
Need a motion
sign?
to approve
Make
the,
it- I'll move that.
Second. We have a motion by Kifley, a second by Piker, to have chair sign the opening audit for 2020. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let me get this signed for you. Is there just one signature in the back?
Yeah, you have to sign it, and I think the auditor also has to sign it.
How long is it gonna take, roughly?
Not sure because it's uniform guidance. We haven't done a whole lot of uniform guidance testing. If I had to guess, probably, I'm gonna try to keep it, within a month and a half, but it might take a little bit longer, so.
So you'll be around a while.
Yep.
This is typical for all of our audits. Nothing different or new this year. The only thing different would be that single audit we're going to have for the federal grants, but which will increase our billable hours quite a bit just because it's a labor-intensive audit of the federal grants. If you hit $750,000, you're required to have that audit. We hit that in 2020 with the CARES Act. But other than that, just a standard regular audit we have every year.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple more years, so
Okay.
until you 55.
Lottery permits.
Move. Second.
Moved by Kifley, second by Sutton, to approve the lottery permits. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Temporary malt permits for Aberdeen Hockey.
Move.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss, to approve a temporary malt permit for the Aberdeen Hockey. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Deputy coroner appointment.
I would move it.
Second. We have a motion by Kifley, a second by Weiss, to approve the deputy coroner appointment.
I do have a question. Well, I assume that when we do that, it doesn't increase our billable hours, it's just who can report to these scenes, right?
Or gives them another option for a deputy to respond.
And he currently has one, now he's adding one, is it correct?
But it wouldn't increase your price tag, I wouldn't
No,
think, it's
but
just
it's-
another person you can
Right.
call on.
Just another option.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're about a minute ahead, but I think we're all right. We're talking about the rural dump site contracts. We have landfill manager Mike Scott with us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
No business.
Good.
Moving.
It never ends. Contracts, because we really only have, we pay $50 a year for Houghton site, and then right now we were paying $150 a year for our Elm Lake site. The rest of our sites are either right-of-way sites or we don't pay anything where we're located. So really, those are the only two, other than the Jacobs site that we had before.
We have a total of 11, is that right?
We've got 18 sites.
18, okay, I couldn't remember the total.
Yep.
18, okay.
But we weren't paying anything at the south dump site.
No.
We're nothing for the township.
No,
No,
no, that was,
no. Are all of the sites fenced?
no.
Who put the fence in, the one up at the Elm?
Corey did, we put it in.
County paid for
Yep.
it to put it in.
Yep. That was all approved by the commission when we did it. That was about 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Besides Heckman, though, where we have like our highway stuff, are there other ones that are fenced in?
Well, we've got,
Westport.
Groton has got a fence, Westport, Frederick, and some of those fences
Okay.
need to be upgraded, but like Barnard doesn't have a fence.
Depends on the site.
Putney doesn't have a fence, we've only got just a few cans there.
Bath has a fence.
Bath have a fence. Most of them are fenced, but there are some that aren't fenced.
Are the pieces that they're on, is there a written agreement then, or it's just kind of a gentleman's agreement, or how often do we, because they're not getting any money for it?
Right, yep. And most of these are either, like I said, county right-of-ways or county-owned property. There are
Okay.
some that are, like Fernie, for instance, I think that's Harry's, we're on some of his property, but some of these aren't, there is no agreement,
Yeah.
written agreement.
I just think $2,000 is a lot. I don't think we can go down that road.
That's an annual request too, isn't it?
Yep,
Are there other options? Have you looked at other locations?
no, I mean, it took us forever just to get this set up, so,
Mhm.
you know, it's, and you can see how long it took us to even do the south dump site. I mean, to try and change the location is not something you're just gonna do, and he doesn't wanna sell it. I've already asked that question.
Is it at the point that we either up it or it's off the table, or counter offer?
I guess we can counter, I guess,
I would say we just keep it where it is, otherwise
I think we
let
need
the
to-
residents up there come up with a new one if they want it somewhere.
Mike is here from the Elm Lake Association.
Yeah, and Kelly from the Elm Lake Association.
Are there other sites that are options?
You know, we have been even trying to find a site for a fire building, just to park a fire truck in. And we can't even buy a piece of property like that without astronomical cost. So, nothing within miles, anyway. So I don't know what your options are.
And the contract isn't with us.
The contract is not with us.
With the Elm Lake
It's with the Elm Lake
Association.
Association.
And I thought at the time when I did this, that, who was your...
Gary Vedder.
Gary. I thought he was going to take this and redo it in the county's name and have Brad sign it, because Brad was okay with that. I just did this because I didn't have any of the information, and I didn't work with an attorney. I just looked up easement, and I did this easement, you know, and that's how we got started. And I knew at the time he would not sell. Those farmers will not give
And as
up
we move
any
forward,
of-
we'll have to, if we're gonna keep this, it should be with us, not with the Elm Lake Association.
Right, right. If you're gonna change it, then change it to that, and I would really say you should make a counter offer.
Yeah, because for 2,000, we'd buy it for that, but not on an annual basis for a lease.
Yeah, because it's not even near an acre.
I think it's maybe 100,
It's roughly 2 by 2.
150 by
I
150
think
maybe,
the
or,
dimensions were 2 by 2.
so.
I think his biggest gripe is, garbage blowing out into his pastures, but,
That's not even a gripe that I've ever heard.
well,
We go out every
We-
year and clean it up.
between him and I, we pick that pastures, clean them.
Mhm.
I've done it twice this year already,
And for the volume that comes out of there, it's not that much. I mean, we've got an extra can up there just for any overflow, so really as far as litter issues go, there's always some.
Well, if we up
But we
it-
can always counter.
If we counter and up it, we're gonna have to up Houghton, because that's just not fair that, and we don't have a fence in Houghton, and then we'll have to reevaluate all of them. So if
Which
I'd make a
property are we
motion
on?
that we go ahead and sign it with the same 150 we've been doing it, send it his way and see whether or not he signs it.
Well, it should be redone into the county's name,
Yeah,
right?
yep,
That's...
but I don't know that you need to change the amount. So we'll see what happens.
So is he aware that it's in the association's name versus the county's name, he's aware of that.
Yes.
At this point.
Yeah.
So is it $150 for the 5 years or $150
Per year.
Per year.
Yeah.
Which is,
You know, and even if you included some kind of escalator, I ran the numbers quick just for the heck of it, and if you did compounded interest at 3% to go from 150 to 2,088 years worth of compound interest at 3%.
yeah, well, he's not gonna go for the $150, so like,
No. No, he won't go for the 150, I'm sure of that too. So maybe we ought to think about what would be a,
So what is Houghton? So they,
$50.
per year.
I don't know if you've ever been by that, but they sit just right along,
Yeah.
and there along the road on the north side.
Is there anywhere that we can put it in our right of way somewhere?
Up at Elm.
Mm-hmm. Like we do at the other places.
I think all that was looked at with Dirk at that time. I don't recall any place up there that's,
Yeah, see, where they were sitting was right in the right of way
it was
there.
kinda right in the
On
road that
Township
went.
Road, but it's right next to the trailers there, the
Yeah.
campers,
Yep.
you know, and now it's a little bit farther away, and
Well, it was a real eyesore before this was done. Terrible eyesore.
didn't even have flat spot, I
Mhm.
mean, they were putting them in the ditch and.
Sure.
right
Yeah, it was a
away.
tough location.
Put them in the bottom of the draw on the west side there. Then it won't blow. It'd be hard to get at.
Right now, the site is clean, it's fenced, it's signed, it's as
practical.
good as it gets for a site. But
What do you think it ought to be a year?
150.
Put it on the manager's back, let's see what kind of a response we get here.
Well, like I said, $150 a year is really, it's nothing. I mean, it's, but,
Is 500 ridiculous a year?
500 is not.
That's what I was thinking too. Maybe just make
I mean,
another
it's-
offer of $500 and
Like I said,
Hope
for
he
what we
goes
got
for it.
invested in the site, I mean, and the issues with trying to find another one, I mean,
What do you guys think of that?
You know, I don't know if he'll go for it or not. I don't know the guy personally. I just worked with him when we did this and
How about the association doing a fundraiser and throw some money in?
you know, that's a possibility.
But I doubt if that's gonna go, because we've got lots of projects.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm gonna say no to that one.
He's the president. No, I'm not.
I mean, seriously, that small a chunk, what would it be worth if it was in production? I mean, what would you be able to take it off of
For
it?
pasture.
it was pasture.
Yeah,
That would feed a calf,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
so as
So
far
it's
as,
really for where the location is, it's really,
right,
it's,
which is fine. But I would say offer 500 with a 5-year deal with a 5-year option at that rate.
And get it in the county's name?
right.
Yeah.
has he given any reason why he wants to up it substantially like this?
You know, I talked to a neighbor that knows him very well, and he says he just doesn't know what's gotten into him, why he's so ornery right now. Because he called him and was complaining about the wind towers and everything that's going on up there, everything. And why should he have that site when the people on the lake got nice homes out there? And, well, what are you gonna do, put garbage at every home, you know?
Well, one of the phone calls that I received, it was, and I don't know where he got his information, whether he dreamed it up or what, but he referred to the south location.
Sure.
And they were getting $2,000 for that. That's
Yeah,
what
we
I heard it
purchased,
from him.
that site.
Yeah, so that's where he got it from.
South side.
All of a sudden, he thinks
There
it's
were
worth that.
that was never paid, we never paid that.
And maybe what he's looking for is just to get it up from the 150.
Mhm.
I can't say, I don't know.
That's fine.
Well, so,
I don't think if we got a consensus on what to make for an offer.
yeah.
Well, if you're gonna make an offer like that to one person, that's not fair. You don't go reevaluate all of them based on square footage and all that. So if you're using somebody else's land for free, just because somebody else is howling louder, then they get more money, but yet we're gonna take advantage of other people that are not howling. So I think it's gotta be more of a comprehensive plan.
So Houghton and Elm Lake are the only two that we currently pay.
That's correct.
Who owns the land in Houghton?
Eugene Mitchell.
I And you said we might have some on Harry's. So I think you gotta check in all those.
Well, you can communicate with them, but if they feel benevolent enough to say, I'm not using that land for anything anyway, fine, use it for that, for community.
If they're happy receiving what they're getting, why mess with it?
You know, Claremont, the county site, Columbia, we work with the city on where we're at there, in that location. Like I said, Fernie, I believe, is, this was at the time, I think Gary said Steve Harvey was that owner, but didn't know for sure. Frederick is county-owned, Groton's right away, Hecla county-owned, Felton, Eugene Mitchell, Mansfield. We've got that one north of the elevator in Mansfield. I really don't know who owns that. Stratford City, Warren right away, Westport. Unknown on that one, it's kind of in the right of way.
It's on the bank of the river there.
It's just right along the north edge there when you...
And I think Helm's only 2 dumpsters, just on the
Houghton
side
is-
there.
Yep,
Versus how many are at Elm?
3.
3 regular dumpsters.
And plus we got a
roll-off.
20 yard.
And on busy weekends, and they have to have 2 roll-offs.
Most of the facilities or the places you named, it's a community service is what these people are looking at, like Stratford, Westport, helps the people out in that community because, you know, by law, the county doesn't have to put dumpsters in these areas. So it's actually a community service. So a lot of these people, I would think, are just
They're
thinking
more than
that...
happy to have
Right.
little site there. You know, whether there's reimbursement, well, like I said, a lot of them are either right away or county owned, or there's only a handful that are private property.
Kind of got the county over the barrel a little bit on that site too, if you can't find another site. That's the sad
There's
part.
another thing about that site is, you know, that's being widely used by the north half of Brown County. Because I can tell, I go there every day and I see a lot of stuff in there, and I know it's not coming from Elm Lake residents. So
Yeah, well,
it's being used
they're county
widely.
sites, so it doesn't
Right.
matter.
No, I understand.
Dickey and
but it just-
McIntosh, North Dakota too.
I'm sure.
Yeah, well,
So do we amend the
It's a
motion?
convenience.
I don't think
Rachel?
it had a second, so it
Okay.
just died for lack of a second. But I think you need, like you mentioned, the contract's gotta be redone anyway, so we can take action.
Do you have a copy of this? The admin agreement?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
I would make a motion that we redo the contract, put it in the name of Brown County instead of the Elm Lake Association, and make a counteroffer of $500 a year.
You want to do a $500, I mean a 5-year with a 5-year option along in that motion?
Sure can.
Second.
We have a motion by Sutton, a second by Weiss to amend the Elm Lake dump site contract to put it in Brown County with a counteroffer of $500 to be determined at the end of 5 years, 5-year renewal. Is that the way you want to read it?
500 per year for 5 years.
Okay.
With the option to renew for another 5 years.
$2,500 for 5 years. Just might not get to all the roads up there.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'll work with Ross, get something put together.
Appreciate it. Or we'll close it in a month, right?
Yeah.
Not going there.
Next
I'll let-
item, we have
I'll let
Jessica
you put the
Snyder
tie
with
up.
the American Foundation for Suicide
Have a good
Prevention
day.
Oh, good, how are
and
you?
Clubhouse Lease. Good morning.
Hi, I'm Jess. I am representing as a volunteer for the South Dakota chapter of American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. We are hosting our event at the Odie this year. However, my first year at this fundraising, healing, community advocation event, it was in 2018. I went as a survivor, lost my brother to suicide. It's a wonderful event. First, it gets a lot of information into the hands of people that don't know what resources we have. Secondly, it's the biggest fundraising opportunity that we have, this walk itself. We definitely in 19 didn't have enough room. We were in the entrance of the lobby. My thought as co-chair this year and as a South Dakota board member for this nonprofit, we are asking to get a tent from Dakota Bank, hoping to put that between the Odie and potentially the clubhouse should this be passed. This temporary lease until 2 p.m. on the 18th, which is a Saturday. Because if it rains, we'd like to have a space where people can gather here, not be cramped in. It's an emotional event. It's awkward to be snuggled up to people at an event that's emotional like that. And with the stage in there and the open space, we could potentially have a backup for the presentation itself. We do a bead ceremony, kind of the healing aspect of it. And then we do have Kessler's who's going to be offering a meal and silent auction. So we just need more space from where we were at initially back in 2019. It was virtual last year, and because we have myself and a group of loved ones helping us as co-chairs for the walk, we expect instead of 150 people walking, hopefully closer to 300. My goal is maybe even bigger than that, but we are working hard to get traction on it. So the ask for the clubhouse would be, again, to have a backup space for the presentation if we have a big enough group because of the weather and that being sheltered. Also a place for eating and silent auction, since the tables and chairs would be included. Kurt and I met. He does have a lease written up for me until 2 p.m. on that day if approved.
What is the date?
September 18th. It's a Saturday.
Hope it is raining.
So they can be in there?
It has
Oh,
in,
just in
it has
general,
in the
yeah.
past.
Yeah, no, and yeah, because actually, and I thought to myself, you know, as going myself with my family and our friends, it was raining, we were just cramped. You could barely hear anything because the echo was so bad. It was awkward. And they did the best that they could. We still have that option, but I don't think with potentially doubling the amount of people there that it's a smart option, so I'm trying to be prepared. And then if we have the lease, if it's approved, I would make it actually just for sure a space that we're eating and gathering in, and then the silent auction, which I mentioned.
You're able to provide insurance too, because we always require liability insurance.
Yes, I noticed that in the lease agreement, so I would work through American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. We can use our South Dakota dollar if we need to get that.
I would move.
Second.
This is just approval of it, or are we waiving any fees or anything?
Well,
So that was my next ask. Anything that we raise goes towards paying for our costs. I'm not paying for anything I don't have to, because the money that we raise then allows us to do free programming for the community, which I'm doing a lot of work on. That's where my passion is getting in with the schools, the colleges, businesses, etc. Working with Chief Joel. There's a lot of things in progress. So if potentially you guys are willing to do it as an in-kind.
so what is the normal lease, 150?
I think you said $350 a day, and with us being there till 2 o'clock, potential proration. But as a side note, anyone that offers anything in kind, I don't know if it works, you know, with your guys' organization. You know, as a community leader here,
So would
they
we be
can be
setting any kind
sponsored.
of a precedent by waiving the fees?
Well,
We've waived
nonprofits,
the
we
fees.
sometimes do waive them. I mean, it depends on the organization that's renting the facility.
Yeah, we have in the past, wait,
I'll move it without the
Have we?
fee.
yeah.
I think so. There's been,
I know, like, when Salvation Army and some of those wanted, we said no. Was that?
The insight Kurt gave me, because he mentioned the Humane Society, he said they get it for like 2 weeks, and they pay for 1 day to not set a precedent, but they're only paying the $350 for 14 days. So
well,
maybe
then how do you feel if we just did $100? That way we're,
I've
Covering at least your
Yeah.
utilities.
yeah. That way you're not setting the precedent, you're actually charging somebody, and we can kind of control that a little better if we just say, hey, it's $100. And
Yeah.
Just the rate.
Yep,
I would
Yeah,
make
that-
my motion with $100 fee.
that sounds good.
Okay, we have a motion by Piker, a second by Weiss to approve the lease for the clubhouse on September 18th for $100. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Perfect. Do you have any information about the walk? Sure, actually. Okay, I'll leave it here. There's 3 packets. If you need more, I'm the main contact, and my personal email is about that. Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You do a good job with it, so good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're trying.
Next item, we have the county burn ban. And I think Mike's here to speak of that one.
You ready for me?
Yeah, we're running about 10 minutes behind, but that's not uncommon, so.
I'll make it short and sweet, right?
We're right on time.
Mike Yelson, I think you all know me from Northern Browns Farm up there. I think I emailed you all, but I can, you want to pass them around, I just hadn't brought
I
a copy.
emailed it to everybody
No,
last night,
sure.
so
Yeah,
so did he.
Yeah, so yeah, I just went out and tried to be proactive.
He's
But
efficient.
I guess up in northern Brown there, we got a lot of trying to reclaim this land. Burning is one of the tools in our toolbox, and of course the only time you can get things to burn is when it's dry. So I guess one of the concerns is when the burning ban is usually coming on now, it's kind of just a consensus. It really isn't based on you know, weather or fire danger index or anything like that. I just had some examples of some other counties that are neighboring, actually in a different state, would be Dickey County, North Dakota. You know, they have a burning ban, but it only kicks in when they're in very high fire danger or extreme red flag warnings. And I'd like to see the county adopt something like that, so it's kind of predictable. So, you know, if it comes off, we can burn. Because if we wait until fall to get rid of some of this fuel that's built up, it's a fire keg we're all sitting on up there. And we need to reclaim some of this land. And on top of that, I think the refuge, when they want to have a burning plan or something like that, when they see the county come out with a burning ban, then they just say, oh, we're not going to burn up there. So they have to plan, and that disrupts their plan, so then they don't try to clean up their fuel that's, you know, building up there too. So I just kind of, the National Weather Service here, I kind of use the example of North Dakota, but I did include the National Weather Service here. They have the same type of ratings and what fire danger. If you look at Dickey counties, currently they wouldn't be in, as of yesterday they wouldn't have had a burning ban because they were in, I think, in the middle class, and they don't kick in until the upper two classes of fire danger. And actually we would be, yesterday was low, but now today we'll be kind of getting up there a little bit more. But the burn ban would be off if we implemented something like Dickey County had. So I was just wondering if, what you guys' thoughts were on that. I would like to see something that would be a little more predictable and we could still burn. I know I'm really grateful for the rural fire departments. You know, they're all volunteer. But at the same time, we still need to, you know, have the freedoms to maintain, you know, use what we need to do on our land. The township's taxpayers are paying for that equipment. I mean, they got some of the best equipment. Back in the 80s, I don't remember any burning bans, which was probably a drier period than now. So it's a tool that we need to be able to use in the toolbox as a landowner and as a farmer. So we kind of end it with that.
It's really good information that you provided. I'm a little reluctant to advocate our local control to a system that has relevance but wasn't necessarily designed to determine whether or not a regional burn ban is appropriate or not. It's a factor in the things, you know, that we may consider in putting one on or not. And with our current situation, meeting on a weekly basis, it's not a perfect system either, but with feedback that we get from the local fire districts and so forth, and they get a different perspective on it, you know, as well, and taking into consideration. That's why, you know, my suggestion was, you know, rather than completely changing this at this point, if you get a situation like you have, you can have a conversation and the local fire chief is in agreement that, you know, you've got enough controls and enough preparation in place to do the burn that you're interested in doing, that jointly you could request a special exception from the burn ban to say, this is an exception I'd like to be allowed, even though the burn ban is on, because we are prepared in concert with the local fire department to be able to perform this activity, you know, in this particular situation, as opposed to changing everything and advocating that, because the predictability, if you're watching that, but it also is a, you know, in and out, like you indicated, you know, yesterday it may have been in and approved, today it may not, because that rating changes, you know, sometimes on a daily or weekly basis from, you know, those other sources. So, you know, is it on, is it not, you know, what information are you looking at and from when to do that? So I'm a little reluctant to advocate that part of that responsibility, you know, to that source exclusively at this point. But I'm sensitive to the situation that you're in, and I'd like for you to be able to do it responsibly. And if the people who are, you know, locally responsible for making sure of that, because I know there was an incident yesterday in Spink County where one got away.
Was it a controlled burn?
No, it was
It was
spontaneous.
accident, so that's the whole...
Well, nothing's accidental, but it's part
that
part
is.
and parcel.
But that's, I'd like to go to Title 18, which you guys have now
Right.
currently, right? It's one of the most restrictive counties for burning. So if I want to burn on open lands, I have to call in now, the
Yep.
county dispatch,
Mhm.
to get permission. So you guys have the infrastructure set up already. This is working in a lot of counties. You know, I use the example, in the wintertime, the roads are icy. You know, we're all adults. You know, if I have an accident, I'm gonna be liable. People get killed all the time in winter
Mhm.
road conditions. We don't ban driving. Is that correct? We don't do it.
But you have personal responsibility.
Absolutely, and we do it on this too, if a fire gets away. I go
Yep.
back to the fireworks being allowed on the last burning ban. And there's 22 calls, I mean, I don't know exact number, but 20-some calls went out. Almost every fire that's been responded to has been either fireworks or accidental, instantaneous fire. On control bands, how many times have somebody gone out on control bands in the county? I mean, not controlled bands, but controlled fires.
See, and that's a
That's why
good-
we call it a controlled fire. But if we're gonna have to have a total plan, if I'm gonna burn a slough off, I mean, wow, that's gonna really add to my costs. And it's gonna be kinda, right now, we have to call them in now.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up, because when it comes to fireworks around the 4th of July, there is state statute that dictates that even with a burn ban, we can't restrict that unless the fire danger is at an extreme level. That particular activity, which I think is an interesting
Hey, I
situation.
lit fireworks, and I'm surely not against fireworks, you know, I like to celebrate the 4th of July, Independence Day, and that's the key, independence. We need to be able to use this, you know what, otherwise we're gonna let all that fuel bill burn, and then you're gonna have an uncontrolled, you're gonna have an accidental fire in North Brown County.
And I know, that's the only way to get rid of some of that stuff.
And right now it's green, I mean, it's granted, we're in a drought,
It's great, yeah.
but you're in the green season, you get towards harvest time, you're gonna have a lot of fires, you have a lot of fires get away, but that's my,
And that's
what
why
I
I
think.
said, rather than trying to change the entire thing and advocate that decision-making process from having some control based on, our own experience, right, wrong, or indifferent, to that rating, which will fluctuate. If you can work with your local fire district and they agree, we have enough safeguards in place to do this event and ask for an exception in the burn ban to go ahead and do it, I would be in favor of entertaining that.
well then Title 18 would have to change too. Because Title 18, right now I gotta call county dispatch, so would I have to call the fire chief and the county dispatch and
Well, that's
my
just part
fire
and parcel,
district?
yeah.
Here's my question,
I
is
mean, I'd
I
have
think
to call multiple
1803,
places.
the reporting of the controlled burn, I don't think you're getting permission. I think it's just informational. It's
Right.
like, heads up, this is the location, this is what
Right.
we're burning. You don't need permission when there's not a burn ban to do this.
You have to report it.
Yep,
though.
you're just giving them a heads up.
It's a
You're not
notice.
getting permission.
It's a notice.
But here's my question is, this conversation, has there ever been a situation or authority given? If you have a burn ban going on, what fire department's gonna authorize an exception? I don't think that's ever happened, and I don't think it would. Because then they're taking some of that liability and saying, oh yeah, it's good, you did your disking around it, I just don't foresee that ever happening.
Well, the other thing that I'm curious about in this conversation is, for the most part, farmers carry liability insurance. And if you have a fire that gets away and burns out someone's farmyard or whatever, what is that? How we put this burn ban or I guess I'm curious as to how, if they're going off of some monitoring system by the National Weather Service, if somehow they could be libeling insurance companies, because, that would be my concern about having a fire get away, and even going by the National Weather Service saying that what the ratings are, where we're at as far as a fire level. And there could be some legalities, I think, as to where you're at when you decide that you're going to light a fire based on what North Dakota might do with the National Weather Service calling when you can burn and when you can't burn.
Well, the National Weather Service here in Aberdeen has their own fire index too, so.
I realize that.
Included that. So it should be really a civil issue, it shouldn't be a county issue. It works in many other counties. I mean, the whole state of North Dakota does it that way. I don't know what everybody does it in Brown. I'm not trying to
I mean, I
compare
know.
state,
Yeah.
but you know what? If a fire gets away, if I have a fire, I gotta pay for it. And that's the way it goes. If you're driving a car, it gets away from you, you're liable. So the county's not liable.
Is that right, Mike?
But-
How does that liability work?
State law dictates that if you have an accidental fire, you're not obligated, if you're in a taxing district, you're not obligated to pay the fire bill.
If you're not in a fire district.
If you're not in a fire district.
The fire bill.
Or, excuse me,
but
if you
damn
are
it,
in a fire
If
district.
you are in
You
a fire.
are in a fire district.
So,
You're not
Accidental.
liable.
accidental.
Is an accidental one that's not called in then? What
I guess
defines?
that'd probably be up to the courts.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it intentional, or is it set off because you got a piece of equipment
We
that
had-
sets it
we
off,
had-
or a crane, or?
This went to court, you know,
Yep.
and that's where this come into play was, there was a fire lit, or a mower started a fire, and they weren't obligated to pay, because it was deemed accidental from the mower. So, again, now, your combine starts a fire, that'd be considered accidental, I'm assuming. If you have a controlled burn, now, in my opinion, you lit that fire, that's not accidental anymore. You should be held liable for that in all aspects, but again, that's probably up to the courts, so.
Well, I kind of agree with that too. Accidental burn is accidental. You're not gonna get permission, it's just gonna happen, right?
Mhm.
A burn ban is exempt that anyhow, so a controlled burn, I would have to agree that the liability would go to, at least on the civil side, on personal property damage.
But also on that fact, most policies only have a $500 or $1,000 insurance payout. Well, that ain't covering the fuel for most of these fires in the fire departments, folks.
You know, somehow, I guess we referred a little bit to going out and driving with snow, and to me, it's a little bit of common sense involved in all of this too, because, I mean, Brown County's got the Jim River running all the way through it, and that is one fire hazard. You get the thing started on the north end of the county at the right time, and the weather changes, and that thing could go clear to Huron. And, I mean, common sense is so important in this thing, because when you got a raging blizzard out, you don't go out and drive, you stay home, you stay in the house. And so, I don't know, I got really mixed emotions. I know you guys got a heck of a mess up there, because a year ago you were flooded out. You got cattails, you can't farm it. Now you're dried out. Now when you could actually make some use of the land, here you are up against how you're going to clean it out so you can use it. Tough deal.
Yeah.
And I see it right across the state line, it's like I'm in a different country. You know, they're cleaning up their land, so.
Same thing with drainage rules.
No, I'm talking about burning.
I know, but drainage rules are completely different too. But then unfortunately, most of us can recall the one that got away years ago, went all the way down the Jim River and all the way back up the other side, miles.
Was that controlled burn?
Source doesn't make any difference at that point. Once it gets
No,
away,
it
it's off
does.
to the
The
races.
controlled burn, that means that you have to have you're supposed to have a fire break. An accidental fire, you're not gonna stop them I mean, they're gonna happen if the accidental Baylor burn.
Right.
It's a totally different thing.
But you can,
I mean,
you can
in
think
Title
you
18,
can
you have
think
to
you're
have a
prepared.
fire break.
Yeah.
I mean, you're supposed to have a fire break. I mean,
Yeah.
it's an intentional burn. It's a controlled burn. That's why they call it.
There are professionals out there that actually work with and do burning, and they work very closely with the National Weather Service. Everything is monitored off the National Weather Service, how they do those things, but I don't know. We've shut our equipment down this summer a time or two for the fear that we were going to light a fire. You crawl underneath the machine and touch the cutter bar, and it's so hot you can't hold your hand against it. You know you got an accidental fire coming.
Why, 40 years ago, we didn't have burning bans. What's changed?
a lot.
Even your best laid plans can go wrong. If you remember 3 years ago, was it?
Yeah, I'm just
Out
saying,
West
Ty-
River, when the professionals were gonna burn some of it back on the grassland, and they got away and burned thousands of acres of farmers' pastures, and those were professionals that lit that one. So even your best laid plan can go wrong. I don't care how you look at it, but I also understand your side, that if you've got a controlled burn, it's different than an accidental burn, because you've got knowledge and you've got probably people backing you, you've called your fire department. I guess, but then you know what happens, you take that off, and then you got some person that goes out and burns a tree claim that's been laying around for 10 years, and them trees smolder for 60 days, you've got that 60-day window where that fire restarts. You know, there's so many different angles you got to look at. I understand a slough isn't like burning a group of trees, because you know how long trees smolder. And, you know, and you know, where do you put the burn ban? Do you start nitpicking why you do this, you don't do that? I don't know.
Can I interject 1 second? So I ran a report out of our CAD system this morning on how many fires we've had since the burn ban has been implemented. And there's been 50 since June 15th, okay? And now when I say 50, that's multiple departments responding, so they get the check mark for each one, right? So they count up to 50 total. So there are 50 incidents where 1 department, 2 departments, 3 departments have been called to, maybe it could have been a single fire or whatever. So that's how many have just gone or happened since the burn ban has been in place. And so I look at it, you know, they're all volunteers too that are going out and leaving their jobs to go do this too. You know, they're not getting paid for that. So I just thought I'd, you know, give you the raw number from what I pulled, so you guys had that data, so you knew what it would be. So I thought I'd share that with you.
So what's our middle ground solution?
Yeah.
Right now, it's all or nothing. An exception would be nice, but that's never gonna happen.
We're in a drought, folks. We're critical. We have all the tools at Mr. Elson, and we use those tools. When we come in to look at burn bans and stuff like that, all those avenues are looked at. We talk with the Weather Service. You know, my office and the fire departments, our volunteer fire departments are struggling now, folks. We're on automatic mutual aid for all fires now because of short personnel and personnel not being able to get off of work nowadays. That has changed so much in the last 10, 15, 20 years that pretty soon we're going to have paid rural departments because there won't be any volunteers. They're getting so short. A minimum of 25 fires since June 15th. That's damn near 1 a day, folks. How about if we don't pay you for those days? We've got to think about those volunteers too. I understand we live in a farming community. I understand that is a good practice to do. Our fire departments support getting rid of that fuel. I have fire departments tell me if we don't get rid of the fuel, we're going to be in trouble later. They understand that. But again, if Title 18 was on the books before I came into this job, it has worked.
What does that work within the mile boundary of the city limits, right? There's a form that has to go to
The city requires a permit.
Right.
But again, they don't have the numbers of controlled burns that Brown County does. Nor does Dickey County, nor does Marshall County. We have 60 controlled burns in 1 day.
Yeah, I know when the burn ban was lifted, it was, our whole screen in the dispatch center was control burns all the way down. I mean,
Well, in the city, I mean, they've got a paid fire department too, so you've got a perimeter that they're protecting.
And their permits are for a pile of trees. They're not burning, you know, like Commissioner Phelps, they're not burning tree claims and tree piles. You know, I've talked to Dickey County about their ordinance up there. Again, what do you do with the person that lights it the day before and we got a 60-day tree pile burning? You know, I've asked some of these people, hold off until we get a little snow on the ground. Those trees are still going to burn.
That's my biggest fear. I mean, the National Weather Service got a pretty good idea, but they don't hit it all the time either. And when you're severe dry as we are, and I wouldn't say that there aren't maybe a couple of isolated areas in Brown County probably could burn where you wouldn't have too much of a problem depending upon how far out in the fringes they got of that isolated area. But for the most part, wow. If we had one get away out northwest out here by Richmond Lake, that'd go to North Dakota. There ain't no question about it, if the wind was out of the south.
The fire departments have talked about permit processes. They don't have the resources to do that. No different than our office. Again, 60 burns in one day, how many people is that going to take to go out and look at these burns and write a permit? Because I'm sure as hell don't think you want to take on the liability to just sign on the dotted line.
Well, that whole entire area up there, the Hecla area, from Houghton north all the way up in there, they got absolutely beat to death with the flooding, terrible, and now they're beat to death because they can get in there and do something, and man, I don't know, what do you do?
Raise the check.
Ease the pain.
No burn.
We didn't do
Somebody's
it.
got to pay it.
We didn't do
Land
it.
use restriction.
Well, to me, it's kind of crazy that yesterday we just were in, when you look at your maps, the fire danger was low. And then today we're at moderate. It feels like we should be, with the desperation, the high, very high, you know. On these maps, we're not even in it yet.
It's emotion. This is
But we've been
scientific.
looking at this since March. I mean,
Well, it fluctuates so bad with the humidity too.
Right, exactly.
And the wind direction and the wind itself. I mean, it isn't just one little thing that affects this whole deal.
A lot of variables.
Are these sloughs dry?
Well, some of them are, some of them aren't.
Well, I was gonna say, it seems like every guy that's got cattle is cutting every slough they can and baling it. I was up by 281 and 10, you know, all those sloughs in that corner. You can't imagine the bales that are in there and the slough that's been cut out of there.
Well, absolutely, some of them you can't access though, otherwise. You should run over a lot of crowd. And some of them are a little bit wet yet, you know.
Why do you want to go through all this work? Next year it'll be flooded out anyway.
They do.
Oh, no. Turn it over to the ducks.
We can hope.
Well, I don't think we really resolved anything. I understand your frustration, and I understand everybody else's cautionary against having fires and the extra labor it can put in if one gets away. You know,
I'd just like to ask Scott, I mean, so you've talked to Dixie County, their system seems to be working, correct?
It does.
There you go.
For a few different things again, but we're talking, you know, a handful of control burns versus
How do we know how
hundreds.
many controlled burns are in Dickie County that they don't require a calling when they're burning? They don't have a title yet.
Well, and this just going off when I have conversation with the EM up there, how many burns they have.
Couldn't reason today.
There's a lot of burns up in North Dakota on 2 miles from the state line. I see smoke, not so much, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of smoke when the dams are on here, so I mean, there's a lot of burns going up there. I would say it's nice.
I wish there was an easy answer. There's just not. I mean, you got variables on both sides.
I'm just saying, I'm just asking the question how it was
Sure.
working up there, and it seems to be working.
From what I talked to, again, they have good luck with it. There's a few other South Dakota counties that do it, and there's other South Dakota counties that don't want to do it, you know, so.
One thing I want to throw in too, just, you know, I was reading the letter, and at the bottom, you know, there's a spot in your letter that whether did not permit at this time dispatch could deny them permission to burn. We don't want that liability in dispatch. That decision can't come from the dispatchers to make that call. So we got to make sure whatever is decided that we can't come out of there. They can't do that. So I just wanted to make sure, depending on where you guys go with this, but make sure we don't want that.
Well,
It's okay reporting on, because there's so many passerbys that'll call in, hey, I see smoke at such and such. Oh, yes, that's a control burn. So that's fine. You know, we need to log those. So, you know, we don't get inundated with 911 calls on that. But as far as having dispatch make that decision, I don't think that's...
Well, that's my concern with tying it to those indexes, because they can change on a daily basis when you're in that zone there, and that creates a lot more confusion than you want to need to be.
They do give multiple day indexes out. They have forecasts out, I think, 4 days, so. So, I mean, if somebody were to relay the dispatch of what the condition was and restrict it. But I guess, I mean, that's just,
Well, maybe
Dickey
a
County, it seems to be what they have, seems to be working up there, so. I don't see why it wouldn't
conversation
work
probably
here.
has to be had too. I mean, we can prohibit or restrict open burning in all, or part. And it seems like the calls I'm taking are all in about 3 townships up by Hecla. So can we have a conversation with the fire department up there and say, hey, this window, this 1 week, we're gonna get some burning done. We'll see what the rain does. If it doesn't come, we gotta get it regardless. And then, could we do something like that, where we take it off of 3, that area, and give everybody a heads up and say, hey, will this week work, will this week, you know? And I hate being micromanaging like that, but at least it's a middle ground where you could get something done.
Possibility, Scott? Have to try it.
Well, I think you'd have to talk, wouldn't you have to talk with the Columbia Fire Chief and the
I
Hecla
talked with
Fire-
Hecla.
Frederick?
You know, one of my first concerns would be, okay, if they get called out to Fire A and all of a sudden we got 10 or 15 burns going on in 3 townships and Fire B happens.
I think you'd have to restrict the amount of burns you would have each day, because, you know, if you take it off and 50 guys decide to light these sloughs up, I mean, you could have a disaster.
Well, that's multi-department too.
Right, you know, you'd have to limit the amount of burns you could put onto that day, because, you know, it'd be like opening the floodgates.
But the
You
good
and
part
everybody-
is they're all concentrated. You're all within, what's the
What-
township, 6 by 6
Statistically, how many
miles?
controlled burns get out of control?
I don't know.
Normally it's the accident.
Is it even a percent?
Oh, absolutely.
Because out of 60, I mean, does one get out of control? Yeah, 60, so one a day, there'd be a fire
And
call.
part of the reasoning behind the burn ban is to try to eliminate some of our calls for the fire departments. Obviously, we're still having accidental fires because we're at 50. So now if we can eliminate 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10, that only helps our volunteers.
Well, one thing, if it's not gonna be just Hecla that's gonna be involved, because if it is a big one that gets out of hand, then you're looking at Columbia either responding, Claremont, depending on where, could be Frederick having to come over, so, you know, so I think, you know, not just Hecla, it probably has to be kind of...
Coordinated.
Yes, yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
And Sam Lake,
Yeah.
throw something.
Yeah, because it'd be a mutual aid thing going on, if just in case if there does get to be a big one. Hecla could roll up to it and say, well, man, this is bigger than we're gonna be able to handle, we need, you know, send X, Y, and Z to get here, so,
I would just like to add, a lot of these fires are out of control in Canada or out west. They usually happen because controlled burns weren't allowed to happen, to burn off some of that fuel. And that's what happens when the fuel builds and builds and builds and builds.
Management.
The refuge camp managers probably, I can't speak for them, they're not here, but I think they won't try to invest in a plan and try to forecast a plan when there's a burning ban on, so they'll just send their efforts somewhere else. I mean, because obviously there's a ban, so there's a total ban here. It's not a based on weather ban. When we have a controlled burn, we have 250-gallon tanks of water. We have fire nozzles on them. That's why we call it a controlled burn. We have a fire break. Section 8, Title 18 says you have to have a fire break.
And Mike, if everybody was like you, which we completely thank you for, if everybody was like that, we wouldn't have an issue. But we got some people out there that don't want to play that game. They throw the match and they go to the bar.
Not all responsible enough to
Exactly.
manage it.
Well, my thing is, it isn't, and Commissioner Fellham alluded to it, the fire isn't necessarily over. I experienced 26 years in the City of Aberdeen Fire Department. I couldn't tell you how many times we got called back because we didn't have the fire out. We thought we had it out, we flooded it, and we still didn't have it out, and we ended up going back. And that's always a fear that I have. If you get into those sloughs or those cattails and stuff, and in the right conditions and the right day, that stuff can smolder for weeks, and then you get the right humidity and the right wind, poof, it's gone again. I mean, that's the scary part for me. I mean, I wish you guys could burn, I really do. I mean, I don't know what the answer is.
Because in the fall, everything will be dead and brown.
There was snow on the ground, wouldn't bother me so much.
Well, that you can't burn.
Well,
Nothing will burn, I mean.
yeah. There again. Most of the controlled burns, when they burn off pasture, when Nature Conservancy or those folks burn, there's pretty much a time frame when the grass height, the new grass height, is such that what they want to burn off the top has some control because of where the vegetation is below it. And I know that's kind of where you're going too, because you've definitely got some new vegetation coming underneath there, and you're gonna, if you get it right, you burn that top off, you're gonna get that stuff in the bottom's gonna sear off too. I know what you're doing. I mean, it's just a matter of how you keep it under control in spite of all the variables once you get it lit. I mean, and then you send the fire trucks out there, the fire service out there, and if you've got places that where it isn't completely, how do I say it, you can't carry a truck or a four-wheeler even, or a side-by-side will get stuck in the mud. If you do have to send the fire department out, it's, wow. Because you said that.
I just said what's working in Dickey County. I'd like to see something adopted that works in another county that still allows some burning when it's decent times. So I guess that's where I'm at. I guess you guys got to make the decision. You guys got. I just wanted to present an option that seems to be working in a county similar to Brown County in geographical topography and cattails and things like that. Seems to work there. They probably have less resources than Brown County has.
Does Beetle County have a burn ban on, Scott?
I believe so.
Spink?
Spink does, Day does, Edmonds does.
Are those just complete bans, or are they tied to?
I believe they're complete bans.
They are, because like Dickey County has a burning ban plan, is what they call it. It's a burn, but you are allowed to burn when it comes out of that very high or extreme red flag warning. So,
Scott, can you check with Beetle County, see what they do when you have a situation like this? What is Day County doing? They've got a lot of cattails over there. What specifically are they doing when an individual? I mean, is it an absolute burn ban, or are they making some exceptions? Yeah.
well, thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mike, for the information.
Appreciate
We'll
it.
see if there's any compromise we can reach here and
Yeah, thank you.
make it work.
We understand what you're trying to do.
Next item, we have the mutual aid agreement.
Is this the Egg one?
What's
Mutual aid is the, is that the NECOG,
Yes,
Oh, mitigation?
yeah, mitigation, isn't that what it is?
That's what my understanding was. That's what.
I don't know who, we didn't put this on, so.
I had, you sent it to me and I said I was good with it, and then I
Yeah.
was told to put it on there.
Okay,
So it's the Integra one?
Yes,
Okay.
I apologize, I don't have Egg here.
so we want to table it.
If you want to table it, we can. I had sent it out for your guys' review, and
Pardon me?
yeah, it was just kind of sitting on it, so.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Table it for a week and
That'd be fine, we'll, table the mutual aid agreement till, next July, what are we at? 27th?
Yep.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine,
I
you're
thought
fine.
you knew.
Was there any comments while we're on it that we need to, Ross has reviewed it, I believe I will get a final draft to Egg, but their draft is what Ross approved, I believe, so we'll just get them in here if they have any questions.
If it looks good to Ross, I'm good with it. If,
Okay.
you know,
I'll make that happen next week then.
Okay.
Good.
Thanks for working through that.
And I will, Commissioner Freckert, I will talk to Beal County and Dade County
Yep.
for next week.
See what those guys are doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I can't believe we're the only county that doesn't have people that want to burn out cattails.
And we're not. We're definitely not.
And I want to know what they do specifically.
I'll make that happen.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott, do we want to talk at all about the mitigation meeting that we had yesterday?
We can, real quick, yeah.
I attended, and I know Commissioner Weiss was there, but we attended the Brown County Mitigation Planning meeting yesterday. They hope to have up to 3 meetings over the next few months, put together the mitigation plan for the next 5 years, which will go into effect, I believe, next March of 2022. So in discussing the mitigation plan, and I've got a copy of the last one that was passed in 2016, one of the things is if we as a commission discuss the mitigation plan and contribute to the new plan, we receive in-kind credit for the time that we spend along with other entities like the towns within Brown County, Groton, Warner, Frederick, any of those towns that discuss the mitigation plan at one of their organized meetings. They get credit, in-kind credit for the hours spent discussing the plan. So I can get you copies of the last one if anybody wants it to look over, and we'll be working closely obviously with Scott to see what we need to do for the next plan, what projects we want to include, because if it isn't in the plan, we can't apply for it. So it's better to have too many than not enough.
So yeah, if you have ideas, then let me know and we'll work through it. And this was, like Commissioner Sutton said, this was the kickoff meeting. More meetings to come here. I think August 9th is our next meeting. So yeah. Questions? Jeanette, can you please make sure that that's in the minutes that we discussed the mitigation, so we can claim credit for it?
Yep.
Yeah, because if we submit copies of our minutes, then that's what triggers the in-kind credit that we get.
Very good.
Thanks, Scott.
That takes care of the agenda items. I see we have a couple visitors. Do you have something for the commission?
We talked to, Chad's talked to Wayne a little bit, and I talked to Mike. It's about a culvert that is on the Jim River. Here's a picture of where that is actually at. It's right in there.
Okay.
And it drains all the property from south of Tacoma Park Road, east of Highway 18. And anyway, the culvert needs to be replaced, and it's on my land. The last time we replaced it, it's been 25 years ago, and at that time, James River was involved in it, and the county was involved. I don't know if the county come in and they dug it out a couple of times to release water, but I can't remember if you guys put the culvert in or not. I can't tell you that for sure.
Dirk, are you there? Dirk?
I don't think he's there.
He
is.
He said he was gonna.
There he is.
Now, yeah, barely.
Your audio's pretty rugged too.
There you go. We're out. You're on now.
Do you know if we put that culvert in, Dirk?
No, that predates me. I am aware that in the past the county has been down there. I can't give you any details about, when and where, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were involved in it at that time.
Okay, thanks.
Who was the prior to Dirk?
Jan Wiseman.
No, it wasn't Jan, it was prior to
Russ Pedal.
Russ Pedal, that's who it was. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I got a bid from Gordy Schmidt, and Gordy wants $12,000 for 36-inch culvert and gate to put it in. Well, that's kind of where we're at on it. Well, and talking to Randy Stan, they'll chip in, but they got to go for you guys in order to do it. They won't go for a private individual.
Where exactly is it at on this?
Want to mark it?
Yeah. Put a circle around it.
Is that being replaced the same size culvert then?
Yeah, same thing.
And you say there's a gate on it now?
Right there. Right? Oh, yeah, right there. Yeah, there's a gate on it now.
There's a gate on it now.
So it's collapsed, or is it?
No,
it's
the
all
culvert's
built?
rusted out behind the gate, so when the river comes up, everything's gonna back up.
It follows this creek around and it goes all the way up to Como Park Road. Which, when we built the road back up on the Como Park, them culverts were never taken out. So all this does is drain to the south side. If them wouldn't have been in there, that 18 wouldn't be out of water.
That's what I was gonna say. That would have flooded 18
It all
now.
flooded, yeah.
That's why the county's
There's a
involved.
lot of water moved through that in the last 5 years.
Sure. And I honestly think if you put a little pressure on the railroad, we could probably get a little help from them. Because they've stuck a lot of money into that rail. Just so they could get cars back and forth.
That's South Dakota rail too, isn't it? South Dakota owned rail.
I think that section is, yeah.
And there's a bridge on that brings the water from the north side of the railroad tracks south too.
Does anybody know who the railroad contact is?
That one I couldn't tell you.
You know, I did. I got a number at home. Because I called them and had them put a crossing in for me between Tacoma Park and 18 to access a piece of ground. I'll get that and I'll get it back to you with that.
Or maybe get it to Dirk too.
Or to Dirk.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
Honestly, I think Kendall might have it. I think he's the one that gave me the number. Possibly. Yeah.
You check on that, Dirk, see if Kendall has the contact number?
Yeah, I only got part of that. You're trying to get a hold of somebody at the railroad?
Correct.
Yeah, we have contacts.
Okay, see if they would participate in the cost share.
Okay.
If we were gonna do it, now would be the time to do it.
Yeah. And I'm a little worried about we get too late and then you don't get enough growth in that dike and then we get high water and everything breaks.
Yep.
That's another problem.
How long is this culvert?
It's about 100 foot.
Oh, it is that large?
Yeah. Yeah, this should probably be on the widest part of the dike. The dike kind of goes that way and then it curves and goes down. There's a driveway there, so it's pretty wide.
James River Mike is interested in at least listening to it, or
You can
listening
talk
to
to
Yeah,
it.
Randy
You
Stanley.
can talk to Randy, that's
Okay.
Yeah. And then Randy's talked, I can't think who's on the head of James.
Dave?
Dave, yeah.
How much did you say that Schmidt's
He
asking?
wants 12 grand, that includes the culvert and gate, but he's getting a culvert and gate through, Aaron Schmidt guys out here.
Oh, yeah.
Of
Yeah.
Gage Brothers?
Yeah.
Or Jensen?
And I'm sure they're higher priced than what you guys can get it for. So, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to let us know why. But I just know Randy's the guy that has the county involved in it. In order for Joint Treasurer to pay for anything.
Dirk, does that replacement require a permit that would have to be applied for by the township? Dirk? We'll have to ask that question.
Okay.
Because the way, when I talked to Dirk, he said that the permit process would have to be applied for through the township
And I
versus the county.
visited with Lance Larson
Okay.
on Putney Township, and he was gonna try to get here this morning, but obviously
Yeah.
didn't make it, but we can easily get that done, if that's what needs to be done. What's he have to do, just?
Dirk, do you have any information on what the township has to do to apply for that permit?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a fairly simple form. You just fill it out. Any entity that's, you know, inside the Jim River district can apply for it. I just get lost on why it's a county issue. That's my thing. Anybody can apply for it. It's not even that hard.
True.
And who do they go through to get that document?
believe it's on their website, or contact Dave Bartles down there at their district office in Huron.
Oh, so they go through James River.
So it's not a state permit for, you're talking about just the application for potential funding from James River.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about permitting? Full blown permit, I have no idea. You're gonna get into core stuff and that, you're down your river bottom. You know, 404 permit.
And you do need that to switch out the culvert?
Well, you're basically replacing or rehabbing an existing structure, as long as you're not changing the elevations and that type of stuff. You should be okay.
If you can do it without causing you to suspend the sediment in the river, you're getting a permit for dirt in the river, unless you're gonna argue that you can remove it without putting any dirt in the river. That's what you get the permit for from the Corps.
I don't think we
I mean, if this was on a county deal where we were doing it, we'd contact the Corps to get permission to put fill back in, or you're gonna have to cover the pipe up too.
Right.
You know, that's entirely different. I thought you were still talking about financing, I'm sorry.
Dirk, is there any documentation anywhere as to why the county got involved in the first place?
There is somewhere. Dr. Schuler actually has the most complete set of data to how all that worked. And then I don't know if those things, when they bought out the land to create, the refuge or whatever you want to call it in Putney Slough, I don't know if that, since they were trying to flood it at that point, I don't know if that relieved the county of responsibility for the dikes and all that. That's an old agreement.
That's all on the north side of the highway, though. The south side wasn't in that.
Yeah, I don't think there was any of that U.S. Fish and Wildlife for South Dakota Game Fish and Parks agreement on the south side of 13. That was all up on the north side, and the Putney more up on the north end. So why would that be a part of it? I'm just curious.
Yeah, you guys are probably right. I mean, you've been around this a lot longer than I have. But, regardless, I don't have an answer than why we're always getting twisted into do all this drainage work up there.
Mainly to keep the water off of two highways. That's what the main reason was.
Well, it seems to me like if there can be a 2, 3, or 4-way split on the cost, and the county is going to get some benefit on protection, if for sure on County Road 18, that maybe somehow, even if the county isn't the one that necessarily goes ahead with the project, that maybe somehow, maybe we do that, maybe the county does have some skin in the game, and should encourage the thing to move along.
I'd be really surprised if replacing a 36-inch culvert saved Road 18 after what it's been underwater for 2 years. We haven't even got that even close to being back to where it needs to be. So I'm not looking for more stuff for us to be involved in. At the end of the day, you guys are the commission, and you know what's best, and what's best for the county. And if this is the route you want to go with Tony, and I'm not going to sit here and argue over this, but I don't want to start a precedent, because we got to stop east of Frederick. As soon as they find out the county's putting culverts out in fields, they're going to be in to talk to you as well. And that one directly benefits a road that had 8 foot of water on it. So,
Well, it's a drainage ditch.
I did, and I'll put them down, and they're good. So,
Dirk, let me ask, if the county's portion was to be able to buy the culverts from True Steel North, just at a discount, would that be our contribution? Would you have a problem with that?
Yes, Doug, I got a problem with this at all, because I just don't see, and it's a county deal. It's not necessarily even the highway department. You guys just, you do what's best, and that's fine.
You guys brought up Roger Schuler, and it's different, but it's related, because I remember 20-some years ago, we were having a conversation, and he was digging out the lawsuits and the agreements for the district above, and the channel that was in there, and what responsibility the county did or did not have to maintain that channel, which became mute about 2 years later when it went underwater, and it's been underwater ever since.
Well, like I said, this has been underwater. If it wouldn't be for that culvert that was in there, it'd still be all underwater. And Highway 18 would not be open yet. Because it's got no way to get out of there once it floods.
Well, I think if, you know, you can make application to James River Water, and like you said, the application is out there, it's public, and there's just a few things that go through, and one of the, you know, several of the questions are, you know, what's the benefit to the environment, to the wildlife, to, you know, to the ecology, and the rest of that kind of stuff, and I think, you know, there's some argument to be made for that, and whether the county kicks in any money or not, I think it's not unrealistic for us to express our support for it, but since it's not directly impacting whether we do or don't put financial resources toward it, if that helps get it done. Now, James River's got a, you know, a percentage, they won't fund the whole project,
No, they won't.
but they'll
Well,
fund a pretty good chunk of it potentially.
We'll put some money in it too, so whatever. I just think everybody should be involved a little bit, and if that's, yeah, even the railroad, you know, so.
Yeah, because I mean, you make the argument potentially, you know, and there's no crystal ball, that it is, you know, mitigation effort to get ahead of what a potential issue. You know, and we were just talking about that, you and I were at that meeting yesterday, and that's what the whole FEMA thing about mitigation is what can you anticipate worst case scenarios, and what can you do to avoid putting property in jeopardy if you can.
Well, we'll apply for that permit. I'll get it from Randy.
Okay.
Get it for us.
Yeah, it's out there.
We'll get it done.
What do I need to have Lance do then? Does he got it as far as township? Do they gotta apply for anything?
I don't think they have to. You know, I think the more partners that you have, whether they're fiscally involved or not, so, you know, and if you need a letter of, you know, understanding or something from the county or from the township to say, you know, we endorse this project, you know, even though we're not directly impacted, but we might be secondarily impacted, we may or may not put funds towards it.
36-inch 100-foot culvert.
But that way you can include documentation, say, we're not doing this on our own. So you have to talk to the other interested parties so they understand what we're trying to do. It's no different if you've got planning and zoning thing or something, you gotta notify the neighbors. Were they notified and what are the costs?
Yeah, it's really the landowners involved in it down there, John Marie's.
And the county's already set a precedent. Why do we let it count?
Yeah. Because Jim bought that other property from John, you know, and that was a whole, you know about that about as well as or better than I do, all the things we went through for that.
Okay, so then you guys would be willing then to help somewhat, or?
I think we're in support of the project, and we may or may not put money towards it.
Well, I think the least we could do is try to find out, you know, the culvert price.
Right.
And what
you guys can figure
Sure.
and what it would cost contractor versus what the county could furnish the culvert for. If we're gonna be involved in the project, that'd be one way to help out.
Right.
You know?
Well, we'd appreciate it. Well, probably get done, we need to get it done though.
Yep, time to do it.
And if Gordy does do it, and if we could get the culvert from you, which I'm assuming is gonna be a lot cheaper than what he's getting from over there, that'd be the biggest thing.
Dirk, do you have any idea what the cost difference would be? Our cost versus Jensen's cost? Would it be significantly less?
Ours is $33.45 a foot, so the 100-foot culvert's $3,300, $3,350.
That's our cost?
That's our cost. They took a price increase. I haven't bought any new ones since they took a price increase. They're actually in violation of their bid right now, but that's a different topic. But they took a price increase. I don't know if it's the close, it might be 10% higher than that.
What's
I
the
don't know
gate
what
cost?
Jensen's charges.
How about the gate cost, Dirk?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay.
I you're talking about probably $300-400, I would guess.
I was gonna guess 500.
So if you could confirm a county cost to see if that would cut some money off the project, if we could provide a culvert at our cost, that would be like our contribution possibly?
Like $4,000, but a pretty decent number.
Am I taking that out of my inventory, or will that be put back into the highway department?
Just be a pass-through, put back.
Yeah, we're just trying to determine what we could save by providing a culvert at our cost versus full retail through Jensen's.
They're just taking advantage of our discount when we get paid for the...
Right.
Yep.
I can tell you right now.
I understand what you're going.
Okay.
With the 40%.
40%.
Yeah, you can verify those numbers when you get a chance.
I guess it'll be in the 3,500 to 4,000 range when it's all said and done.
For the culvert.
For the,
Yeah, and the gate. Well, 40% is significant. I mean, that's cuts the cost down a little bit on the overall
Well, it's
project.
gonna cut it down $3,000-4,000 from what I can remember Gordy telling me what the culvert was. It was like $7,500
Mm-hmm.
for the gate. And then he wanted $4,000 to put it in, I think it was.
And by retail.
Yeah.
Well, that would help the project.
Then there was a delivery charge on it too, and that was like $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
That'd
let
be
us
great.
do
We
a
could do that.
little
We'll get
research.
back in touch with you on it.
All right.
Get some stuff done here.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
All right, thanks.
we're going.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Dirk.
About your brother, I just heard about it last week. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
He'd be 64 on the 2nd of August here.
I
We're
know.
gonna have a birthday party for him.
Yeah, we were able to Tracy last night.
Unbelievable.
Anything else coming before the commission? Mike?
Brad Hart says move it.
Yeah, we all got a text.
Maybe we should have the association look around.
I wonder what would happen if you go down the road a half a mile to the west. Does Brad own the land on both sides of the road?
I have no idea.
Because you get
Across
over...
the bridge, on the west side of the bridge.
I'm sorry. East. About a half to 3/4 of a mile, there's a curve in the road there. I wonder who owns land on both sides of the road there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, as an alternative, I know those people don't want to drive a half a mile to dump their garbage, but I mean...
Is Brad aware that all our other sites, we are not paying that kind of money for them? Can you
I think so.
can you maybe,
But like I said, we spent some money putting that site together.
Would
So,
you be
to
comfortable
just go
going up to his yard and talking to him? Asking?
I guess I don't have a problem going up there, I guess. I've never met him personally, but...
I think if he thought we were paying that kind of money for the south side, you know, we weren't renting that, I mean, that was free. Yeah, now we're investing money to buy a site.
Right.
But we own it.
Right.
We'd own it, it'd be an investment.
If he'd be willing to sell it, we can negotiate the price.
Dumpsters aren't there, it's still a valuable piece of property, clean it off and somebody will build something there. If we don't have it.
Yeah, it sounds like he got misinformation, assuming that we were paying whatever for the south side.
Right.
That's
Well,
not the case.
at one time we were, you know, when we were leasing that behind the Jacobs home, but yeah, that's been a couple of
I
years.
just wonder if there's some other underlying reasons why Brad has got this.
So I don't, like I said, we've spent some money on the site to get it
Do you have
prepped
the
and
county for something else?
just to work. We worked a long time just to get that site secure, so to have to try and relocate it and come up with a new site and establish it and prep it, and I mean, the site's got value where it's at right now, you know, then they have to go through all this process again to try and find another location, but,
When is the lease up?
it's up. It
So
was
when-
5 years, so.
It was a 5-year lease?
Yeah, that was 20, I'm sure it's done this year.
Well, I think it doesn't hurt too to let the association know that we're looking. I mean, yeah, we prefer to keep it where it is. It's gonna be a lot easier and cheaper if we get the rate down, but if the rate doesn't come down, it doesn't take you long to put $2,000 in a year to prep another site.
No.
So
if the options are we're moving those dumpsters permanently, or we're finding a new spot, I think they'll find us a new spot.
You know, another thought that comes to my mind is if you cross the bridge to the west, on the south side of the road, that's Thorpe land. I know it is. Up on the hill.
Yeah.
Down here and up on top. That's Thorpe land.
Keep working it.
We'll be in touch. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a deadline when they gotta be gone, or...
Or he'll close the gate.
Just sign up, I guess.
Well, let him know that we're not paying anything for the south site, and if he got that information that was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, we've worked a long time with the association, and, you know, even with, when we first initially got that site to get it established and get it put in, so...
Solve one problem, have another one problem.
And then we get...
Well, that's first thing going through my mind.
Anyway.
What we paid down there for that piece of property.
Like I said, it's a long process to come up with a new site.
Yeah.
Trust me.
We know. We know, we've been here the last year.
Yep.
I know it, but even small or big, it doesn't matter. It's still
a
process. Well, I'll be in touch with them and let them know that we don't pay anything for that site,
And that we paid
we did
50 for our
purchase it,
other one,
so,
that he knows that.
all right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Anything else coming before the commission?
Except for personnel, please.
Are we set to close on the south?
I haven't heard anything. We're still waiting on the title commitment, so.
Who's responsible for getting that available?
They ordered it. That was the confusion. It didn't get ordered until week before last. It's just not done yet. So, as soon as they get that, they'll forward it to me with the closing statement, and we'll just set up a time. It doesn't sound like Bob's too worried about it. I guess I'm not super worried about it. I know the firemen would like to get it done, but it is what it is.
Okay.
Oh, we're well
I'll
beyond
keep in
the,
touch with you guys.
we're well beyond the
I know.
July 1st date that we set last year.
Wow.
Yeah, but we're still
I'll email her
progressing.
today and see if she's heard anything.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd just be nice to get it done, so we live up to our word that we'd have it done within a year.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's not an excuse anymore.
Well, we've made the commitment.
Okay, we,
Take motion to go into exec
Second.
for personnel, was it?
Yep. We have a motion by Sutton, a second by Weiss to go into exec for personnel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in exec. We are out of exec, no action as a result. Is there anything else to come before the commission this morning?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We got a motion by Sutton, a second by Weiss to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.